The numbers are right. Everything reconcile. Nothing is missing. There's more data than ever, and less room to think. So, what do we actually do next? That's the moment you realize the math was almost helpful.
Hey, it's Cashflow Mike, and welcome back to another episode of the Clear Path to Cash podcast. And I'm going to throw something at you. What if you changed professions, like from accountant to doctor? Not just any doctor, a financial doctor, right? So I recently had a conversation that I haven't stopped thinking about. It's one of our members that told me that they felt like their role had changed. Not their title and not their business, but just the way they showed up in client meetings. They said that a few years ago, most of their conversations were about explaining the numbers. Now they spend most of their time just helping people to decide what to do next. So the more we talked about it, the more I realized that, well, they're not the only ones that are making that shift. There's a lot of advisors that are finding themselves in a different kind of conversation than they were having 5 or 10 years ago. The information itself is easier to access than it's ever been. Clients are coming to the meetings with reports already printed, right? They've already looked at their dashboards. Some of them have already asked AI what they think about it, or what it thinks, right? They're asking AI to do our jobs. But by the time they sit down with an advisor, they often have plenty of information. Well, what they don't have is confidence about where to focus and what to do. So this member had brought me a client situation recently that illustrates this perfectly, right? The owner was concerned about several things at once. It was scattered all the way across different burning issues, lots of multiple fires. Margins weren't where they wanted to be, and cash was really tight. Hiring decisions were kind of in limbo, and every conversation drifted from one concern to the other, right? It was all over the place. And the advisor understood all of it, right? They could see the numbers, they could know what was happening, but their problem wasn't with expertise. The problem was deciding where to begin. So once we slowed the conversation down, the situation became a lot easier to work through. Instead of trying to solve every concern that the owner mentioned, we just spent time figuring out which issue was creating the most pressure, the burning issue. So that changed the whole entire discussion, or the direction of the discussion, immediately. And what we felt complicated, what did feel complicated, was really manageable. It just became manageable because the advisor wasn't chasing every symptom anymore, right? The owner wasn't bouncing from one concern to the other. They were working on one thing. And once that issue became clear, the next step was a whole lot easier to see. And that's the shift I think many advisors are trying to make right now. The value isn't coming from access to information. The value is coming from helping someone move through uncertainty. And that's why I like the financial doctor idea. When somebody walks into a doctor's office, they don't arrive hoping to hear a whole list of everything that could be possibly wrong. They're looking for help, understanding, what's happening and what should happen next. And that's how many advisors operate. The best ones operate that way. They're helping clients make sense of complexity. They're going to help them focus and move. That fixed framework that I talk about: find the burning issue, identify what's causing it to burn, execute and put the fire out. It's built around that whole idea, not because advisors need another framework, but it's because they need a way to navigate conversations that don't follow a script. Well, that's really what clients remember. And they remember the meetings where things became clear, where that light bulb went off. They remember the moment when that path appeared. Well, and they remember the advisor who helped move them forward. And if you felt that shift happening in your own work, well, you're probably paying attention to the right things. And if you'd like to see how we support those conversations inside our platform, I want you to take a look at our demo. Go to the clearpathtocash.com website. There's an interactive demo. You can play with every single features, 20 plus tools that help guide you to the right action. What do you do next? You don't have to learn everything. There's a lot there. Just watch how the conversation changes when there's a process behind it, because we've all been in that moment when the clear path illuminates. And that moment, we know it. And the Clear Path to Cash was built for that moment.
The numbers are right. Everything reconcile. Nothing is missing. There's more data than ever, and less room to think. So, what do we actually do next? That's the moment you realize the math was almost helpful.